So what do you think then that you look for in video games?
Yeah. I play video games for the same reason that I trip on.
Okay, great intro. I think we're done. I think we can leave it at that. Welcome to Pixel Therapy, the video game podcast where we look at the games we play through the lens of the player, where what you play is just as important as how you play it, and where emotional intelligence is a critical stat. Usually, we're coming to you every other week where we bring on a guest who may or may not consider themselves a gamer to discuss one of the games that made them and changed them. However, this is a special bonus episode. Bonus episode!
Bonus episode!
Spencer and I are new to the podcasting game, and we wanted to, yeah, I know, shocker. And we wanted to give everyone a chance to maybe get to know us a little better. So we're trying this thing that we are calling
Co-op mode.
And there you go. Lots of fun mic sounds for you today. But yeah, it's just going to be the two of us having a conversation around a video game topic, and we hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce myself as your co-host, Jamie, and my pronouns are she, her.
And I'm your co-host, Spencer, and my pronouns are they, them.
And this is Pixel Therapy Co-op Mode.
Co-op mode.
So pull up an armchair. Maybe that's not really the vibe that we're setting, I guess. You know what? Yeah, sit down on the couch, get your controller in your hand.
Oh, yeah, settle on your gaming chair, your chair specifically for gaming.
Yeah, the one that is just for gaming and not for just sitting around. Mm-hmm. I don't use my gaming chair for
buckle in.
Yes, strap in to your racer chair. Yeah, we're gonna talk about our feelings about some video game stuff. But first, Spencer, just how are you? How's it going? How's life?
I'm well, thank you for asking. I enjoyed my first 9-hour night of sleep in a while, which was amazing.
Whoa!
I woke up this morning at 7 instead of 5, which was nice.
Congrats.
And I awoke to a notification that the special edition Animal Crossing Nintendo Switch that I had ordered had arrived in the night.
You son of a bitch.
What I did this morning was I hooked it up. I marveled at its beauty.
Yes.
I'm loving this mint teal color combo.
It's a really pretty console. It's a really pretty console, yeah.
I immediately downloaded 1, Hades, and 2, Breath of the Wild.
Yes. I'm playing Hades right now. It's so good.
Oh, God. I literally just 5 minutes before I was time to hang out with Jamie, Hades had finished downloading. So I started the first 5 minutes. Everyone's super sexy, as you would expect from, what do they call it? Supergiant? Is that the?
Yeah. Yep.
Voice acting and music is choice. Yeah, I mean, you're playing it too, so you already know.
Yeah, I think I want to play more of it, and I want you to play more of it, and then I think let's have a real conversation about it. But man, Supergiant's my favorite developer of all time.
Yeah, they rock.
I love them so much, and Hades is just another in a long line of amazing games from this team.
Yeah, but the main long story short is, congratulations to me, the proud parent of a new Switch. Thank you. It was a long wait. You've been
looking for a Switch for a while.
I couldn't get one.
I know, they've been hard to come by. And honestly, I was getting I get the IGN daily deals emails, and they've had the Switch in there, and I almost forwarded to you just FYI, and I was like, Spencer just got a PS5. They probably don't want to buy another new console.
It's the podcast. People messaged me and were like, listen, are you playing Hades? And I was like, no. And they're like, well, you really you don't have a Switch? You do a video game podcast, so you don't have a Switch? And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. And so 3 people sent me links. I followed them. It was out of my hands. Okay,
I followed the links. Well, if it's a business expense, you should put it in our budget.
Yeah, right. Look, if someone sends me a link, I click it. What can I
say? That's amazing.
But how are you? How are you?
I'm all right. Yesterday morning, I was having ironically, yesterday was World Mental Health Day, right? It was yesterday. But so like, yeah, just in perfect fashion, I woke up just being hypercritical of myself for no reason. But then we recorded a podcast and had some tech issues, and for some reason that shook me out of it. So I've been better since then. And,
you were just celebrating World Mental Health Awareness Day. You were super aware of it.
I was super aware of my mental health. No, but I'm good today, and yeah, I've been playing Hades. Like we said, I played a lot of that last night. I've also been playing Telling Lies.
Oh, what's that?
It's we actually talked about this with Jamila a little bit. They were playing this, Jamila Bradley, when they were on the podcast.
Yeah, check out episode 3.
Check out episode 3. It's a found footage game where you're going through found footage. The name of the developer is not in my brain right now, but they also made the game Her Story. If folks are familiar with that one.
Okay, cool.
I'm liking it so far. You're basically sitting at a computer just going through a bunch of footage, and it's all FMV files. So it's real human actors in the footage that you're watching. And you're going through, the way you interface with the game is that you put in keywords. You can search keywords and find videos that include those keywords.
Like in the computer?
Yeah. So what you see on the screen is a computer screen.
Nice.
And you can go into the little search field and type in a word. For example, the game starts by putting the word love into the search field, and that populates videos. You're restricted to only being able to access the first 5 results of words. So if you put in a super popular word like you're going to get, that's not going to be helpful. You're going to get a ton of results, and you're only going to be able to watch the first 5. But yeah, so you watch those videos, and then you're trying to piece together the mystery. But the videos are only recorded on one side of a conversation. So for example, if 2 people are having a Skype conversation, you're only seeing one side of it. So you have to listen to that side and try and figure out what might be a word that was said in the other side of the conversation, and then try and find that video file
freaky
to pair it up. And and you're trying to like piece together what happened to these people.
Nice. So that developer, I just looked it up. It's Sam Barlow and Furious Bee Limited. Also, I just wanted to note that I was reading more about this game, and there's 2 reviews that are popping up on Google. One is 5 stars and one is 1 star. The 5-star one says, "This game has a brilliant format. You're watching videos, each of which is one side of a recorded video call conversation. Each conversation is a puzzle piece." And then the 1-star review says, "This is not really a game at all. It's a concept and storytelling. You just watch a bunch of boring video clips in random order. And at some point, you have to figure out what the story is." So it's funny that it's the same review.
Yeah. But one person was like, "Oh, the mechanic of this game is very cool." And the other person was like, "This isn't a game. I get to decide what is and isn't a game."
Yeah. 1 star.
Yeah. 1 star. Anyway, I'm sure I'll have more deeper thoughts on that later, but that is those are the 2 games that I'm playing right now, is Hades and Telling Lies, and I am enjoying them both for different reasons. Telling Lies is definitely like more of a chill end of the night kind of an experience, and Hades is I've got to sit forward and get the sweaty palms and try and fight all of these monsters in Hades. But so we wanted to like we said, we're doing these episodes partially to give folks more of an opportunity to get to know us and our gaming tastes, and partially just for funsies, because we like recording podcasts together, and clearly we have plenty to say to each other.
And to you.
And to you, our wonderful listeners. Thank you so much. So our topic for today, we wanted to start by talking a bit about the kind of video games that Spencer and I do like to play. And what we realized in starting to have more conversations about this and think more about it is that Spencer and I both play games in a very solitary way. We play mostly single player games and mostly by ourselves. And then clearly we like to talk about it after, but I just think it's interesting that neither of us really seek out multiplayer games or like deep community around the games that we're playing. And so, I wanted to start with asking you, Spencer, why don't you seek out multiplayer games? Why is gaming such a solitary activity for you?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because like even when I would be going over to your house all the time, like in pre-quarantine days, like I often feel like sometimes I would just rather watch you play a campaign or game that you're currently playing rather than stop you and be like, let's play a multiplayer game. And I definitely have like my own etiquette around like watching someone play a game. 'Cause I think if someone was watching me play a game, it would give me anxiety if they were, you know, trying to tell me what moves to make or being like, oh, you missed that thing, or asking me a ton of questions about like, what's this and what's that and what's this, which I've definitely been guilty of doing to you. But, I think in terms of why I specifically gravitate towards single player games, I mean, it's probably a combination of things. Like a lot of my earliest memories with gaming were as a young person, like playing games with my stepfather. And he had a very particular taste in games, particularly like fighting games, like Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur, shooters. Oh my God, what's that game? Time Crisis, like old Dreamcast, Sega stuff. But it would be very like acutely stressful game situations, lots of violence, lots of I don't know. I have PTSD, I have anxiety, and gore is one thing. Like gory violence can sort of put me in a place that isn't super fun. I mean, I play The Last of Us willingly, so like it's not like it's like if a game has gore, right? Exactly. Yeah. I think it's about the philosophy around it. I think I find that games that are multiplayer, what you're trying to do is beat someone, right? Like you're trying. It's not about you versus the game. It's about dominating somebody else. And so I think when it's violence just to own someone, I'm not as into it. But when it's violence as part of a narrative and it's violence that is maybe not justified, but has its place in a character's story or in understanding some wider truth, I find that I'm much more receptive to that. But like you said, I mean, it's always been a solitary hobby. I think to get back to what I was saying earlier, I think that when I started developing my own taste in games and started learning what it is I liked in games, I started to realize that I had permission to not just play these multiplayer games. I didn't have to play the games that my dad liked. And I have great fun memories too of multiplayer experiences, like with my cousins. But those were often, I guess I think of multiplayer as a party activity. Like you maybe to bond with people or to just hang out with family or to do something when like I'm an introvert, so it's always great to play a game instead of having to make small talk. But it's just, I guess I find more of what I look for out of games that are single player, and we'll talk more about that. But I'd love to hear from you. Like, why do you gravitate towards multiplayer games? I mean, towards non-multiplayer games.
Yeah, I think for me, the number one reason that I don't play a lot of multiplayer games is that I find them incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
I have a lot of social anxiety in general. And so when you take, is that surprising to you to hear? Yeah, I've got a lot of social anxiety. So when you take this hobby that I use for escape, that I use to relax, and to like just sink into myself and be solitary, and then you combine it with, and here's other people, and your performance might impact them as well. Like I just can't get the fuck out of my head about it. Like I can't get the fuck out of my head about it. Especially if I'm, most of I've definitely gotten into multiplayer games from time to time. Apex Legends, I got super into for a while. I've on and off played Call of Duty games over the years, mostly with my my partner and his family and friends. He plays a ton of multiplayer games. And like that's really the only way he plays games. We really couldn't be more different. We're both intense gamers, but he plays almost exclusively multiplayer and I play almost exclusively single player. But I will join him and his friends and family and play games from time to time. And it's always, it's a good time. It's really, they're not coming at me like, why aren't you better at the game or anything? They're all very chill, but I can't get out of my head about it. If I'm doing poorly, like it just makes me feel really shitty, and it turns on all of that hypercritical stuff in my head about myself. And I feel like I'm bringing the team down. I feel like I'm dead weight. I'll get really like, if there's someone better that you could invite to come play with you guys, you should do that. Like, I'll like say that to my partner. I'll be like, no, we want to play with you. And I'll be like, but I suck. Like, you don't want to play with me. I'll just go play by myself with randos. But then that stresses me out too. So it's I don't know. It's just a dangerous space in my head sometimes when I'm playing multiplayer games. It turns on like just all of this like negative stuff about myself that I don't really want to engage with. You know, when I can get out of that and I can get in a good headspace and I can feel good enough, like I don't have to be the best person on the team, but when I can feel competent enough that I don't feel like I'm dragging the team down and can feel like I'm doing okay, it can be fun. There can be a lot of camaraderie, you know, the joking around and winning together is always cool, but there's just so much, like 90% of the time I can't get into it that way. And instead I'm getting stuck in my head. And so it just doesn't make it very enjoyable. It certainly doesn't make it relaxing.
Yeah, like I feel like I turn to games like you touched on to get outside of my head a bit. I sink into this other world, this other experience, and I sort of lose myself willingly because I'm engaging with this other place. And I guess when you're playing multiplayer, at least to me, it sort of takes all of that aspect out of it because I'm suddenly very hyper aware of that I am this person playing this character and I need to do a good job because there are other people depending on me, especially too when you're talking to people outside of the game. It kind of breaks that fourth wall of getting immersed, and it's a much more tactical conversation suddenly. Like even times that you and I have played like Overcooked. We love to play Overcooked because we love stress and anxiety, I guess. But I feel like us playing Overcooked is a testament to our relationship because I can't play Overcooked with just anyone. I can't even play Overcooked with my partner because it's too stressful, but I can play Overcooked with you. And I think that says something about our friendship. But even then, it's like, as much as we're in the game, we're also talking to each other like, oh, go over there, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's just, I feel like multiplayer, it is about the game, but it's equally about who you're playing with. And it's not just, it's a much different relationship that I have with the game when I'm playing multiplayer than when I'm playing single player.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, you know, what you bring up, like couch co-op is almost a different thing to me, or like playing playing locally with someone who's sitting right beside you and playing a game. It's a different experience even to playing online multiplayer. And also, I mean, I think you can make the argument a lot of the games are different. The games that have local multiplayer modes versus online multiplayer modes, it's kind of a different space. I still don't seek out, like, I guess when I'm with a large group of people and we want to play a game, I'm probably going to reach for a board game before I'm going to reach for a video game. But I don't mind playing video.
Why?
I don't know. There's just a line in my head of like the video, like I play video games. Well, I guess we're going to transition now into what I look for in a video game, which is that I'm looking for a narrative experience. And I guess I feel like I connect when I'm with a group of people and we want to play a game to connect around. Having the tactile board game and removing the screen from what we're doing makes me feel more connected to the people I'm playing with. Using video games to connect with a group of people always still feels a little bit removed to me because everyone's looking at the screen instead of looking at each other.
Yeah. I feel like the only time that the dynamic really works is like a game like Until Dawn, where the purpose of the game is you are, if anyone hasn't played Until Dawn, it's like a game starring Rami Malek where you're a bunch of friends like going to this house and it's like haunted and you have to try and survive the night, and there's a bunch of different ways, or I don't remember if it's haunted. There's some kind of scary horror tale.
It kind of is a collection of horror movie tropes. It's a bunch of like young people going to stay in the woods at this like in this haunted cabin area. And basically any horror movie trope that you could come up with, they put in this game. And
but I feel like the fact that these are fully fleshed characters with their own motivations and stories, and like I think that kind of game translates well to a group and a screen, because you're not really trying to connect with each other. You're all have a role to play in this already defined narrative. Whereas a game like Overcooked or a racing game or a fighting game, where it's really not about the narrative, it's just about the action of playing together. I 100% like, I'm like, yeah, of course, like a board game will get you much more. Well, sorry, I don't want to diss all multiplayer games, but
no, and I don't think we're dissing. We're simply
a board game. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just talking about like what we prefer. It's definitely not meant to be a diss on anyone who wants it. But I also think, the point that you're making because we played Until Dawn together with a small group of people. And when we were like that game, you're making dialogue decisions. You're making decisions about, am I going to go into the caves or am I going to go into the woods? Like that kind of stuff. You can have a conversation with the group about that decision and like connect with each other and learn things about each other in that process. Versus it's not that we don't learn anything about each other in Overcooked. Perhaps we learn too much, some might say. But in Overcooked, everything is like being poured into, like we all have a controller and we are all very intensely focused on the action on the screen and our own performance in that moment. Versus the experience of playing Until Dawn, where we're all having a good time, we're laughing, we're joking, we're laughing at the characters on the screen, and then we're making decisions collectively together. So there's more bonding and learning about each other that can happen in that, versus Overcooked, where really the learning that happens is almost at like an instinctual level of like who's gonna like instinctively like take command and be the boss of the space. And be the kitchen manager.
Who's the kitchen top?
And all that stuff just happens so like on such a, I don't know, Overcooked is a really interesting experiment. If you want to learn like where you fit in your like friend group, go play Overcooked with them and you'll learn things.
I think that would be a good litmus test for who has what role in the zombie apocalypse, because it puts you under like intense stress and then just sees how you will react with the others placed in the same situation with you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So what do you think then that you look for in video games?
Yeah. I play video games for the same reason that I trip on.
Okay. Great intro. I think we're done. I think we can leave it at that.
And I mean, I the reason I say that is because I think I go to them because I'm looking for an experience that I will not be able to create for myself. I guess I'm looking to be pushed. I'm looking to learn something about myself. And I'm also looking for a break from, like, I guess I'm very sporadic, and I feel like in how I approach games. Like there's some years where I'll only play 1 or 2 games a year, and there's other years where I'll be playing a new game every month. And it all has to do with, like, I approach each game like a relationship. Like I don't invest unless I feel like there's something that I'm going to get out of it, or that there's something that I'm not that selfish when I approach my relationships. But I say is that it takes a lot of energy and passion and emotion and time when you're engaging with a video game. And I want to get something out of that. And I think I look like, I love to read. I'm a big science fiction and fantasy person. And it's very experiential for me. And I want to connect with a character. I don't want to feel like just like an empty avatar. And like that was part of the reason why the 2018 God of War kind of excited me so much, just because up until that point I had known Kratos as being this very like, God of War was very like hack and slashy. It was very gory. You as this character were just fueled by this bottomless rage, and I just had a hard time like finding much to relate to. And when this story like just like, Kratos is still a complicated and maybe you might say a bad person, but there's so much dimension brought to this character, the relationship with Atreus, his son, and what that allows the narrative to do with his character and how it affects his character in this foil that Atreus plays. Like yes, I'm playing it for the amazing fight dynamics and the beautiful graphics and the beautiful world, but what I stay up at night thinking about is the micro interactions between Atreus and Kratos. I think about Atreus's back turned and you reaching your arm to touch him and then deciding at the last second that you can't. Like that's the stuff that I'm thinking about long after the game is done. And that's the feeling that I'm chasing, that soul piercing, that life-giving feeling that you get after completing a book that you couldn't put down. It's like the piece of it that you carry with you and what that teaches you. Like I think if spending 50 to 200 hours with something, like I said, it's going to change you. And so I want that change to be something that helps me grow.
Yeah, I think that's super, super valid.
What about you?
I don't think it's terribly dissimilar. Mm-hmm. I have such a wide gamut of games that interest me.
Yeah.
I think the number one thing that's going to attract me and keep me in a game is narrative and characters, for sure. If there's characters that I find interesting, character growth that's happening that is compelling, a narrative that is intriguing, that's the number one thing that's going to keep me there. There has to be something enjoyable, obviously, about the mechanics. But the mechanics are usually a secondary concern for me. We were talking about Supergiant earlier, and really none of their Supergiant, if you're not familiar with them, as a developer, they made Bastion, then they made Transistor, then Pyre, and now Hades. Their games are, like I said, they're my favorite developer of all time. And I think it's because they do so much of what I love, like great art.
Yeah.
Super interesting characters, deep world building, complicated and compelling narratives. Like they do all of that stuff, like just chef's kiss. Like everything, like, and the art's a huge draw for me too. Like the art in their games is
I've never been sexually attracted to a sword before.
Yeah, Transistor, right? And the voice acting.
Yeah.
But the mechanics, like the gameplay of all those games, first of all 4 of them have pretty dramatically different gameplay. Bastion's a pretty straightforward action adventure game. Transistor is like kind of an RTS, real-time strategy game mixed with action adventure. Pyre is like I can't even begin to describe. It's like basketball mixed with an RTS. Yeah. It's like and also like that's set inside of an Oregon Trail, like choose your own adventure kind of. But like, if that sounds like an insane combination of elements, it's because it is, and you should play Pyre. It's an incredibly interesting game. And then Hades is a roguelite, right? And really, like on their surface, none of that is what I would generate towards typically. I would say, in terms of the mechanics that I probably play the most, it's third person action adventure or RPG.
I hate first person.
I'm not big on first person. I have a lot of trouble connecting with the character.
Yeah.
In first person games, there's something about not being able to see my character that really doesn't just doesn't intrigue me. I know the point of that is supposed to be that like you become the character or like you are the character.
The opposite effect happens.
I know. I don't want to insert myself into the story that way.
I don't need to be in their eyeballs to feel that.
Yeah, and there's something that like, it actually creates a distanced effect, right? As Skyrim is kind of the one first-person game that I can think of that I've gotten super duper into, but Skyrim also gives you so much to engage with in the world. Yeah, I'm really interested to see Cyberpunk, right? Yeah. Cyberpunk 2077 coming out this year, and like, there's so much I want to be excited about with that game, but the fact that it's first person is really like kind of hampering my excitement for getting into that world.
I mean, with Skyrim, I loved when I like that you had the option to kind of zoom out and zoom back in. Like like you
That's true,
said,
yeah.
if you were reading a book or something, it was nice to be able to zoom into first person. Um, Sorry, that was an aside because I was gonna say like, oh, I wonder if Cyberpunk will have options because that also hurts my heart to hear.
Yeah.
It's just claustrophobic. But anyway, yeah, go on.
Claustrophobic, or I don't know. And also a lot of times when games give you that first person view, they don't, when your character talks, it's just a disembodied voice. If they talk at all, a lot of those games will have a silent protagonist, which I fucking hate. I want to fucking hear this character. I want to get to know them. Yeah. I guess I'm definitely going to, I want to play a game so I can pretend to be somebody else. I guess that's something I'm looking for is like, yeah, getting out of my own head, putting myself into someone else's shoes and then making decisions as them. And there's something about a first person game that is trying more to put you as yourself into the narrative and like strip away this concept that it's a different character. And I don't like that. I actually struggle to connect with that because I want to connect to an entry point character who's introducing me to this world.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say too, like I play to be someone else or to, through this persona, discover another aspect of myself that maybe I wouldn't normally bring to the surface because I'm not, like the opportunity does not present itself. But in this world where I can be anything or I'm playing a certain role, like I can explore these other aspects of my humanity that are typically not at the forefront.
So when you've mentioned before, like when we were playing Kentucky Route Zero, you came across that game because you specifically went and looked for a list. And I know you've said you spent a lot of time really looking for the next game you want to play. What is like the criteria that you're looking for then?
Yeah.
What boxes are you trying to check before you start up a new game?
Yeah. I think that I typically, I mean, lately with Kentucky Route Zero, like I've been getting more into this kind of side-scrolling adventure. But I typically am someone who specifically looks for an adventure game or open world game just because I like the autonomy. I like be able to choose and jump in and out of a main quest as well as explore or just like fuck around or level up, but what have you. I like customizability. I think if I were to really hone in though, because I play all sorts of games that don't fall within that, I would say that's top level what I'm drawn towards because those types of games tend to have more of what I really look for, which is what I look for out of, I would say, the sci-fi and fantasy that I read, which is the world building. Like I want to feel like this world exists independently of me, and that I'm a witness on something that is going to give me something in return. And I guess I look for, I think what I'm looking for is that ability to feel immersed. Like I don't like when there's just one track that you're on and that's where you're going towards. I like this idea of like games that have mystery, games that that reward you for going off the beaten track, games that reward you not just for completing levels or beating the boss, but for connecting with other characters or for doing something just to learn about yourself. Like an easy example of that is The Last of Us, of course, like in scenes where there's a special dialogue option that you get with a character. It's totally optional whether or not you choose to engage with it. But if you do, you might just learn something about that character or about their relationship with Ellie or Joel or Abby. And I like that. I like knowing that there were people who cared not just about what these people were doing, but who these people are, and about that shared appreciation. Like they set up this world with with these Easter eggs, with these secrets to reward people who, like them, have this same love and appreciation for these characters in this world. Like that kind of depth is what I look for. And it's hard to know from the surface level, like before you get into a game, what kind of games will have that. But yeah, I'm really driven by story, but I like to be an autonomous, active player in that story. So I think that's why it can take me a while to find games, because all kinds of games can have like independent of genre, games can have that magical quality of trying to transcend just being a game. It's not just a game.
Mhm.
It's a whole world with people who feel and struggle and die, some without even having names, like finding artifacts. Like now that I'm thinking about The Last of Us, but like finding artifacts in the game
Mhm.
and realizing that there's this whole story of what happened in Seattle before you even got there that you can
Yeah.
piece together that isn't even part of the main campaign. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes a game transcend the screen. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's the kind of stuff that I look for. What
Yeah.
what about you?
I mean, that's a great answer. I think I'm so rarely someone who I will go scroll the PlayStation Store to some extent, but I'm more scrolling like my wish list of
Mhm.
already like pre-selected games. I guess the number one criteria I would say, or like the number one way that I go find games is that I'm highly susceptible to what other people have to say about a
Yeah.
game. And so it really is that I consume a lot of games media and I listen to people have conversations about games. And when people start talking about a game that they are passionate about and they are excited about the characters in the story, that's what gets me interested in the
Mm,
characters and story. And then usually I'll go look up that game some more. I'll watch a little bit of the gameplay and see if it looks intriguing. Does the artwork look intriguing?
mm,
And if that all seems appealing, then that's probably going to get it on my wish list,
yeah.
or get it into my cart and be something that I'm going to play. Uh, yeah, the tougher decision comes then, like, as we've talked about my backlog before. Once it's in my backlog, once it's on the PlayStation, then when do I actually get around to playing it? When I finish a game and then I have to go looking for something else, then it becomes much more of a mood thing. And
Mm,
that's when I am thinking a little bit more about the mechanics. So it piques my interest if someone's saying, this has really good characters, this has a really interesting narrative.
yeah.
That's when I'm like, ooh, my antenna are up. I'm going to look into this game. But then when it comes time to actually start something to play, it's more like, what are the mechanics that I'm in the mood for? If
Mhm.
I'm sleepy, I can't go play a game that's got a
Oh,
lot of text on the screen.
yeah.
That's going to put me right to sleep. I'm not a big reader. Like I'm just a slow reader. And so it's kind of challenging for me to read a lot of text anyway. So if I'm tired, like that's not gonna it's not gonna work out. Or like, like I was saying with playing Hades, like I've got to be very alert and ready to engage and ready to get the like sweaty palms because of the combat in that game. So that's when it becomes more of a mood thing.
Mhm.
When I'm thinking about the mechanics, but what's actually gonna draw me to the game is the characters and the narrative every time.
Yeah, and yeah, like I definitely relate to, like, because it's so hard to tell sometimes from just the cover, like what kind of environment or how rich the world of a game is going to be. I definitely am someone who, like, both doesn't necessarily want to know all the details of a story before I start the game because I like to be surprised, but also wants to know like how it made people feel, what they generally think about it, like would they like how would they rate the gameplay, how would like how do they review it? Like I definitely am someone who tries to get a piece as much of that as I can without spoiling myself, which is a
Yeah.
dangerous game.
And I guess I'm sitting here realizing that, like, because then I was thinking, like, what is it that people say about a game that actually like really interests me? And I was reminded of the early conversations that I heard around Spiritfarer.
Mm,
And I do have a certain draw towards games that have like a sadness or are
yeah.
exploring sadness in some way, or grief or death. I definitely have a bit of a morbid draw. So I think if people are saying like this game made me cry or this game
Mhm.
made me really feel X powerful emotion, I'm less inclined for someone to be like, this game is just so fun. It's just so
Mhm.
bubbly and enjoyable. And I laughed the whole time. probably not going to draw me in. If you're like, this game made me sob for an hour, I'm like, ooh, what's the name?
Yeah.
I would love to sob for an hour.
Pain.
Yeah.
I'd love to sob for an hour about something other than my own baggage.
Right? Like there's something really freeing in like being really upset about something happening to somebody else. Well, we hope you enjoyed this co-op mode episode, our first one. Let us know what you think. Rate it, subscribe, all that good stuff. Send us nice things in the comments. Or bad things if you didn't like it, I guess. You can say bad things to us too, but we'd much prefer you say nice things. But the time is up for this co-op mode, this session of Pixel Therapy. And we do thank you for tuning in, for listening to us chat today. We really hope you enjoyed it. We hope you'll subscribe. We hope you'll rate us. If you do want to reach out to us, maybe you've got a great story about a game that changed you, a guest recommendation, a question, really, truly, if you have a question, something to say to us, please feel free to reach out to us on social media or via our email address, which is pixeltherapypod@gmail.com. And if we do get people writing into us and we think you have interesting questions or interesting stories to tell, we will certainly read it on the show sometime. I already mentioned social media. You can follow us there on Instagram and other stuff at Pixel Therapy Pod. Or you can always check out our website at pixeltherapypod.com, which is where you can see the list of all of our episodes. Spencer?
And finally, since we like to put our money and our energy where our collective mouth is, Jamie and my shared mouth.
Shared mouth, one mouth.
One mouth, two brains. 2 hearts.
Oh my God. That's our new tagline is 2 brains, 1 mouth, 2 hearts.
Oh God, please help us. So we like to end every episode with a recommended side quest. Just think of these for ideas for how you can get involved locally or nationally. Just cool projects, cool causes that we think more folks should know about. This week, we're going to touch on something a little close to home for us. We live in Massachusetts, and Massachusetts is the home of the Transgender Emergency Fund, which can be found at transgenderemergencyfund.org. And it provides critical direct assistance to low-income and transgender people who are low-income and or experiencing homelessness and living in Massachusetts. It's a community-run, community-driven resource. It's important that trans folks, especially Black trans folks, are able to lead for themselves, create resources for themselves, and for us to support that. Coming up in November, on November 22nd, is Trans Day of Remembrance. And the Boston transgender and gender nonconforming community will be coming together to mourn those who have been taken from us due to anti-transgender violence. This tradition actually began in 1998 with the murder of Rita Hester in Allston, Massachusetts. And now, 2 decades later, the Transgender Day of Remembrance is honored worldwide. This is a day to remember the lives of hundreds of transgender and gender nonconforming people who have had their lives taken by violence over the past year. You can sign up on transgenderemergencyfund.org for this virtual event on Sunday, November 22nd, 2020. And you can donate and spread the word. Let your friends know that this exists. And hope you would consider trans folks in MA when you're considering who you want to give to. Thanks.
Thank you for that side quest. That is our show today. So go forth, run a story mission, level up some stats, and don't forget to hug an NPC every now and then. We will be back so soon with some more Pixel Therapy.
I just wow. Say it at the same time as you.
All right, so one more time. We'll be back soon with some more Pixel Therapy. Bye-bye.